It's time for Scott Wilkinson, the home theater geek. That's the name of his podcast. Don't blame me. I'm not calling him a name.
I'm a proud geek.
He's a proud geek, as am I. And Scott is also the editor-in-chief at the AVS Forums, which is the site for people who are interested in, everything home theater. Hey, Scotty.
Hey, Leo.
How are you today?
I'm doing good. Next week.
What's that?
Super Bowl.
Is this the week that more people buy TVs than any other?
Even more than Black Friday. Yep.
Yep, it seems like you waited too long. I don't understand that, really.
Well, and here's the other thing about it is that, the super great deals you're going to get this week in preparation for the Super Bowl are the 2015 TVs. They're last year's TVs.
Right, because the new ones aren't in yet, right?
No, they typically come out in the spring.
Yeah.
So
this is not a good time to buy, but I know what happens. I understand what happens because you've been happy watching that TV all season.
Yep.
And then you realize the neighbors are coming over to watch the Super Bowl with you, and you're embarrassed. I can't let them see this ratty TV. And you want the latest and the greatest and the state of the art. You'd think the companies would time their new releases for this week, but maybe not.
Wouldn't you think?
Maybe they want to clear it out.
I think they want to do inventory clearance is what they want to do. They want to clear it out for 2016 models. Yeah, exactly.
Well, give us some advice. What should we look for? How should we do this?
Well, it's pretty interesting. I think if you're going to spend money on a 4K TV, which is sort of what you're going to get these days, you can
almost not get less, right?
Almost not. Yeah, you can, but they're at the very bottom end of people's lines, manufacturers' lines.
Yeah.
I've seen a bunch of deals, of course, and if you're going to spring for one, I would get a Samsung, what they call an SUHD TV.
Okay.
Which is their high dynamic range TV. It's already capable of high dynamic range. It more or less conforms to the new specifications called Ultra HD Premium, which
that's what you'd like to get, but there aren't any Ultra HD Premium sets out there, right?
Not yet.
Okay.
That's 2016.
So that's what you'd like to, but this is 2016.
I know, but
when
that's
did the new models come out?
Spring, like April. May, kind of that area.
Okay.
But the 2015 Samsung SUHD TVs, which are identified in the model number, they have a letter J and a letter S. So if it says JS 7000 or JS 8500 or JS 9500, which is the flagship, that one that's going to be SUHD. It's going to be able to accept a signal with a particular, probably the most common type of high dynamic range called HDR10, which is an open SMPTE standard. SMPTE is the Society of Motion Picture and Television Engineers, and they've come up with a HDR system that Samsung implemented in their TVs, and others now have too. But that sort of future-proofs you for the next few years anyway. So if you're gonna,
there's going to be a Super Bowl next year. You could get a TV then too.
Yeah, you get a TV every year, right?
I can't have last year's model.
Yeah.
Is there an advantage? Do they work out bugs? Like, is there an advantage to not buying right at the beginning of the new season, waiting a few months? Do they improve? Are there bugs?
Well, yeah, that's a very interesting question because LG last year in their OLED TVs, they had a real problem, which is sometimes called vignetting, which means and in this case, it means the edges of the screen, the right and left edges of the screen, had a kind of a weird darkening effect, particularly in dim scenes. In bright scenes, it wasn't obvious at all. But when you were looking at dim scenes, low light scenes, you could sort of see this weird non-uniformity.
That's funny because it used to be the other way around, that the edges were brighter.
Yeah, well, that's with edge-lit LCD TVs.
They would leak out around the edges on computers too. But now it's dimmer.
It's dimmer. And they fixed the problem. But it only in the TVs, the OLEDs that were made after a certain date, because it was actually a hardware problem. It wasn't a firmware problem. So, I'm of the school generally. I don't buy version 1.0 of anything. I usually wait because there's going to be bugs that are going to get worked out.
And you can thank me because I buy version 1.0 of everything.
Exactly. I always listen to you.
So that's unfortunately, my job but
your
also
lot in
my
life.
preference, because I'm an impatient dude, and I suffer all the bugs and flaws.
Now, I found something very interesting. A guy named Don Jenkins wrote me an email and saying, pointing me to a CBS website, because you know the Super Bowl, it's number 50. It's going to be on CBS, and apparently they're using a couple of interesting technologies this year for the first time. One is they're shooting much of the game with using what they're calling 5K cameras.
Wow.
Now, they don't identify the camera.
But they're reds. That sounds like
I
reds.
bet you that sounds like red to me too. Precisely.
Wow.
Precisely. Now, reds are typically a cinematography camera.
Yeah, they're not often used for live.
Exactly. So that's a little confusing.
No, you can, though. You know how I know? Because remember that cruise ship I was on?
Yeah.
Some of the cabins, which didn't have windows, had a giant screen TV. I should have found out what the make was, where a window would be. And I noticed up on the bridge, they had two red cameras. Red's the brand name, pointing it left and forward. And those were the images, the live streams they'd put in those cabins. So if it was raining, it'd be raining. If it was sunny, it'd be sunny. If you were in port, you'd see the port. So I know you can stream 24/7 live from those cameras.
Right. Well, then that may very well be what they're doing. I know Grass Valley is working on some broadcast cameras that are in the 4K range.
Black Magic is also good stuff. And so there are a lot of choices. But 5K sounds to me like those reds.
Sounds like red. Exactly.
Yeah.
Another thing they're going to do that's very interesting.
By the way, if they shoot 5K, is there somewhere I could see it in 5K?
No, that's the thing. There's no broadcasting yet in 4K.
Okay.
Now this fellow who wrote to me said,
I can't. Wait a minute. You're saying not only can I not see 5K, I can't even see 4K.
No, you can't. However, he said, "Oh, great! So now I'm going to be able to watch 5K on my 1K plasma." Well, but this brings up another interesting point, which is if you capture an image with higher resolution than you're going to end up with, you actually get a better result.
So they downsample? How do they do it?
Yes, they do. They downsample it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They're also going to use these new 360-degree cameras, which I'm a big fan
man, that
of.
looks really cool.
Tell us about that.
Well, they're going to place like I think I read 36 cameras around the field, and they're all taking pictures of the action from different perspectives, and they're going to knit that all together, and you're going to be able to they anyway will be able to sort of move around, sort of like virtual reality, and see a given play from several different perspectives, from 36 different perspectives.
There's a good article in Wired magazine about this, the cameras that'll make the Super Bowl more interesting this year.
Yeah.
They say there will be 70 cameras for the 2016 Super Bowl. That's up a lot from last year, which had only 40 cameras.
Only 40
Only
cameras.
40. They'll still have the sky cam. You know what I love is the pylon cam. That's the one in the little orange cones that are at the touchstone.
Which they're going to have those as well.
Love those shots because they always get clobbered.
There was some questionable touchdown about whether somebody made a touchdown or not. And
you look at the pylon
cam. Yeah.
And iVision 360. This is going to be for replays because you can pan around.
Yep.
And see, well, let's see what that is from that angle and this angle and this angle.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
It's going to be fun. I think I do need a new TV.